Indeed, you don't get better brand ambassadors for the India story or better reform advocates like Nirmala Sitharaman. It's indeed our pleasure that you're joining us live right here on India Tonight, ma'am. You've been meeting a whole host of investors, you've been meeting a whole host of CEOs, people who have their skin in the game as far as the India story is concerned. What exactly are they asking you? What are they telling you at this stage?
Well, first of all, the interest in India has gone one notch higher. There's still a lot of people who think India is the story to be talking about, which is very good for me. It motivates me. They certainly want us to say that this reform momentum, the work on the transformational India will still continue, will go on, will not slow down. So clearly, the interest and the focus continuing to be in India, now sharp focuses itself to speak about the government's will to continue with the pace of reforms, which of course we, both myself and my senior colleague Nitin Gadkari, have very clearly explained it to them, saying they shall not be a let up on this, we shall continue going.
And is the resolve on the GST and the kind of goodwill that is being created between the states on one hand and the centre on the other, with some of the most important issues being ironed out, is that helping your cause as well? Because a lot of people that we spoke to, when they spoke about reforms, they obviously, flagged off the GST. Will that be a reality now? Is that an issue that was raised as well?
In one of the interactions, that was an issue raised by industry. And also with a sense that you've actually done a bit on it already. The passing of the constitutional amendment has been well received. They see hope. And they also very clearly tell you that the efforts that are being put in getting everybody on board is being observed, it's being noticed. And when I did say that now we hope to pass it off as of 1st July, there was a great sense of appreciation. So they do understand there's a lot of work going on the GST.
I cannot but not ask you the question on demonetization, and I know you must have fended this question off, saying long term this is good and short term there was some pain. But what are people telling you as far as the growth story is concerned? For instance, IMF did downgrade India's growth from 7.6 to 6.6%. What is the kind of assurance you gave people here as far as India's growth momentum is concerned? The consumption that did take a hit, how soon will that bounce back?
But then, I must tell you, they did not suspect that this is going to be a long-term impacted measure. They did not question, oh my God, India's growth story is now being halted. No. In fact, they see the point that this is towards getting a cleaner economy. There will be a short-term impact, as you observed. Many of them say it.
Right.
In fact, there was no reference to IMF downgrading our growth. There was very clear indication that if it is a movement towards cleaner economy, it's a very well taken measure. And there was sense of appreciation. There were questions about if the short-term unemployment issues will be addressed. I have been telling them that the story of unemployment is only of the migrant and the workers who come in from villages, and that too confined to 1 quarter.
You'll be having a very busy next few months because you're going to be looking at the trade barriers that may rise around the world and how the world trade may change at large. 2 questions, and I'll let you go in this call after that. The US, and that was a big point of discussion here. Is Donald Trump going to make United States a more inward-looking country? Is he going to disengage from global trade? And if that were to happen, what happens to the policy push that people like you will have to make? How does that change things for India? Because US is an important and a big market for us.
I'll start with the comments and the observations made by many of his chosen representatives who are going to hold positions of power.
Right.
Like Secretary Tillerson, he's not yet sworn in, but still, his comments about commitment to the global environment meets offer which has been made, COP21, they are all intact. They are in line with what is the US policy all this while. So whilst the campaign rhetoric was one thing, these officials now are speaking what is popularly known as the US
position.
Yes. So there is not a drastic change in the comments that these people have offered. So I'll wait till the 20th. After that, the first few weeks will explain as to what contours these are going to take. But my engagement with the US, and I must say this, through the 2 strategic commercial dialogues that India has held
That's right.
has been intense even with the Obama administration. So the intensity of the engagement is not going to be any less. We will work towards the outcomes.
Right.
Much more with the new
And
administration.
you do hope that the election rhetoric will perhaps be put to rest once he occupies the Oval Office. The other question that one has to ask you, and I can't let you go without asking you the question, is on China. This was almost like a coming out party for China of sorts. And, it was ironical that the US president was talking about protectionism, and here was the Chinese president Xi Jinping making a big cause for globalization. How is India placed in this changing world dynamics? Does this pitch help us?
Well, one thing is for sure. India has been maintaining very clearly that we shall calibrate the capitalism that we are doing in India. We'll calibrate it to make sure that the sections which will have to be included in the benefits of capitalism will be included. We shall not allow an unbridled mercantile capitalism.
That's right, yes.
So, India's position has been fairly steady, and with the kind of reform push that this government is giving under the Prime Minister Modi, are very clearly towards engaging with the global community with Indian strength in mind.
That's right.
And the challenges very well embedded into the scheme of things. So, for China now to say, we will come on to, the global platform with emphasis on consumption rather than the export-driven way in which they've been growing.
Yes.
And with the US talking on a different, protectionist line, we very clearly want to say that there is benefit in things which are calibrated form of capitalism.
And more middle of the path approach.
Middle of the ground. And this is where poverty alleviation can be successfully done. That is why Niti Aayog does the proactive planning.
That's right, yes.
As different from what Planning Commission was doing earlier.
That's true.
So the kind of calibration that we are giving to the economy and the investments which are going from public treasury are going towards building infrastructure.
That's right.
Are going towards building rural demand, the real demand. And therefore we are taking a very steady, clear-headed, India-centric policy which will draw investors to us without losing our ground.
On that note, ma'am, thank you very much for speaking to us in this very cold Davos. We cannot have a minister freezing, but that is the best advocacy of Indian policy. It has to be a middle-of-the-path approach, away from the protectionist stance that the US is taking, or welcome to globalization pitch that China seems to be making. We could actually go back and tell them, we've been there and we've done that.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.